everybody, it's Romania Black, and we're on episode 21 of Monster. I'm out of town, actually, this weekend, and then I'm out of town next weekend for business, so I'm recording ahead only because I won't have time to record it while I'm gone. So that's really the only reason, but also I kind of love the series and I didn't want to wait, so it's a win-win situation, right? But I've really enjoyed Monster so far, and ever since episode 16, it has just been beat for beat so good, and it's not let us down. In the last episode, getting Dieter and Timma helping the older couple who are looking after their son, and just been a lot of little side quests along the way, but last episode really getting into the heart of Monster and the idea of humanity, and are we all monsters, are we not? It was a very different episode. Episodes 19 and 20 have had a very different set of tones, right? And they've been kind of almost conflicting against one another. So I'm really excited to see what we end up getting for volume 21, or for episode 21. I was just thinking I may need to go ahead and order volume 2 of the manga and get it in if I can, to talk about with episode 22 when it comes out, or 23 depending on how soon it gets here. So after I'm done recording this, I may go look for volume 2 of the manga and see where it's at, because I would imagine episode 9 was where volume 1 ended, so I would assume I could go ahead and order volume 2 and it would not cover anything we've not already touched upon in the anime, but we'll see. So I'm really excited though, y'all. At this point in the story, we're just kind of, it's been very episodic, so I don't know where we're going with the story, but I'm really excited about it. So I hope you all enjoy. But before that, I wanted to give a real quick shout out. Over on Patreon, we have 3 different tiers, and our 3rd tier is our philanthropy tier, where people that want to give me extra support each month definitely do. So for those that are donating $10 a month, y'all are freaking amazing. But I want to give a special shout out to Edgar, to Dana, to Kenny, to Tyrone, to Larry Manning, to Truck, and Anime Annie. Y'all are super kind and very helpful and super patient with me. So I really appreciate everything that you guys have offered in terms of support. All of my love for everything that you do. Thank you. So yeah, I'm pretty excited, y'all. I don't know what all we're gonna get, but we'll just start the episode and find out, won't we? So I'm not gonna waste any more time. I sat down and was like, I want to watch episode 21 of Monster and go ahead and see it. So that's what we're gonna do. But we're gonna start this episode and see what happens, y'all. And we're gonna do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. That was a messed up episode. Oh my God. I did not recognize that was Mueller at the beginning of this episode. And it took me a while. It took me a while to realize who he was talking to. And I'm like, oh, okay. So he was this rich guy. At first I was like, oh, so he's this rich guy who's like an art broker. And then the more he talked, I'm like, oh, did he used to be a cop? And then the moment they brought up Mesner and he was like, oh, I worked with him, I'm like, oh, that's him. Oh my gosh. Well, he looked a lot happier at the beginning of this episode. And then the ghosts, the fact that it was Nina, but he thought it was Nina's parents and was equating that to the ghost of the couple that was killed. Oh my God. And now it makes you wonder a lot of things in this episode, about where the location, where they ended up moving them to, what's going on. Right, like there's a syndicate, and the syndicate's being run by Johan, but it's not really Johan, but oh my God, they were going to kill Nina. That's my thing. They were going to kill Nina. And I'm like, are they really working with Johan, or are they no different than Baby's group, who thinks that they're going to work with Johan? Because I'm like, why would you kill her if the whole point was to bring Johan to you? I doubt Johan said to kill her, or did he? So I doubt it, but man, this episode was disturbing. It was creepy, and then it got just really grisly. I'm glad nothing happened to the wife and kid, but he's gonna die. I'm like, I didn't want the episode to end. I wanted it to keep going. I wanted to see Nina get him back there to the family. And then what is she gonna do? Who's she gonna go to? Oh my God, did she kill the guy? Did he die? Did she shoot him in the face, but he shot the other guy first before he passed? Like, what? Oh. Let me go back to this episode. I was like, oh my God. Like, it all hitting at once, right? And then it's in South France. So yeah, so that's so curious, setting this all up. So this is setting up right by where Tenma is, right? Because Tenma and them, when we saw France, I was like, okay, well, but isn't this? What? Hold on. I'm going to have to go back. Hold on. Never mind. I'm an idiot. I was like, Nietzsche, France. I was like, isn't that in, have we heard that something for it? Yeah, I've heard it because I just watched episode 11 of The Great Pretender, and that city was mentioned in that episode. This is the problem. The Great Pretender and Monster are quite different, but yeah, this is the problem. If you watch multiple shows at the same time, they're dealing with the same countries. What we doing? So never mind. I was like, has France been mentioned in Monster yet? But no, it's in Great Pretender. So ignore that last minute. Oh my God. But yeah. Oh my gosh. So Mueller, he basically settled down. Man, the difference between Mueller and Messner is astounding. Where Mueller took the money and was able to go, like, he basically got into this syndicate. The thing about it that's so sad about it is Mueller doesn't seem to have had an addiction to the drugs that they were dealing as a cop. And so when he got in with the syndicate, he stayed clean and was in the syndicate until they let him go. And he, ended up marrying Barbara and adopting their son, Fritz. But Messner, the sad thing about him is he kind of ends up going down this route where he got addicted to the drugs and it ended up causing his own demise. So it's kind of like, which honestly, Messner and Mueller caused their own fates. Messner ends up getting stabbed in a drug deal and Mueller ends up getting shot rescuing Nina. So, and oddly enough, they both Messner ends up giving information to Tenma. So did Messner really die in a drug deal, or did they find out he helped Tenma and got rid of him, right? Just like how Nina was kind of responsible for Mueller's death. So it's kind of fascinating to know that Mueller and Messner, who are both, kind of responsible for Tenma and Nina's paths going the way that they are, end up being involved they end up dying by being involved with those people once again. Fascinating how that works, right? But yeah, so Mueller, I didn't even recognize him. He looked like he was having the time of his life, right? He's like, I've got to get used to this new art business. So he basically stopped being a cop and started getting in the art business after he got all the money and was able to, have this nice house with him and his wife. The crazy thing is the moment being able to live in this mansion, the moment he sees Anna, aka Nina, walk by, it did look creepy. It did look like a ghost. And the wife makes the comment, Barbara makes the comment that it used to be a home for this couple that were killed. So my thoughts were Mueller was set to live in this mansion. He brought Barbara and Fritz there. It was like a little paradise for them. But I'm wondering if it's a property that was purchased next to a house that used to be the home of one of Johan's former families. And I wonder if Johan's been buying up properties next to the families he's killed, and that's part of it. I don't know. Maybe this location was a lot cheaper after the family had left. Because of location and the incidents that happened around it. I don't know. And the truth is they heard about the family being killed. And of course, Mueller is freaked out and does kind of believe in ghosts because he's been haunted by the fact that he killed Nina's parents, right? And the fact that it was just to kind of clear his name. Again, we don't see Tenma at all in this episode, but I will say, for not having Tenma in this episode at all, it was insanely fast-paced. It was very tense. It was very creepy. And I do like that it's crazy we have, Johan and Tenma splitting and Johan and Nina splitting, but now we have Tenma and Nina splitting as well. It's like our three duos. And it's Tenma is trying to clear his name and Nina is trying to help clear Tenma's name as well. And they're both trying to find Johan. So it's like this crazy triangle, right? And then Dieter's just there having to deal with it. But we don't know exactly how much time has passed since the Turkish fire, since the events of episode 16 and 17. We don't know how much time has passed. It's not been a lot because Nina doesn't look that much older, but enough time has passed, like at least a year, right? At least a year since all that events of them went down, right? Because they talk about Tenma getting... So when he was called back by the police, Tenma told him. So at some point in the timeline, Tenma has talked to the police. He has given them information about Johan. And now this detective is sharing that information with Mueller. So the good thing is that there are multiple detectives trying to figure stuff out. Well, this detective that gave him the info, he's dead. That's the sad thing. He's dead. I'm very sad about that. I'm just now realizing he's the one that Roberto shot. I was like, damn it, I thought somebody else would have info that would help clear Tenma's name, but no, he shot him, damn it. So Roberto's still on the run. We don't know what his deal is. But I wanted to go back to these images and see if there's anything we could tell from what they say. He's like, he has the information about Tenma. What do you say here? I'm going to start with him. And it's all in German, so of course... we see his age, he's in his 20s, blah, blah, blah. I wanted to see what he gave us on Nina. But yeah, he says that Tenma told the police all about Johan and the boy whose life he saved 10 years ago and the victims from the hospital. The boy's name was Johan. And he appeared in front of him as an adult and committed another murder right before his eyes. And then he's like, I'll tell you about Nina. So Nina, it says that her birthday was April 1975, April 7th. It says nationality is Dutch, which is interesting. And then it just shows her whereabouts. And there's stuff in Germany and German. And it says 1995. And that's all I know. And then they talk about Messner, who was born in 1945. And it says was Dutch too. And then it goes back to that whole thing as well. So she's 20. Wait, so she's 20 in 75, 85, 85, 95. So it talks about when her parents died. She's 20 when all that happens. Does she turn 20 in the episode that's her birthday? Is that what happens? So yeah, so we don't know how much time, I mean, not a year has passed because she's still 20. So as far as we know, the timeline's a little sketchy, but I don't want any corrections or help with it. I'll just kind of leave it be for now. But there's been enough time pass that when they talk about the Turkish fire, they said it was a while ago. So there's that to think about. And then when Mueller finds out that Messner is dead, it said he was stabbed. He was stabbed 2 months ago. So it's been at least several months over the course of time. And Mueller getting kind of nervous about Messner being stabbed and realizing that all these bad things are happening. Like, it all kind of starts adding up that something is really wrong. And so the man who saved him after the incident was called the Baby. This man with this extremist group. And there's a rumor behind the man that was the Baby. And they talk about Tenma saving the people in the fire. And so then they keep bringing up Johan. And the thing about it is that Mueller didn't even know who Johan was or that he was responsible for calling them that night. He just knew that somebody knew enough dirt on him to convince him to kill the family. So that's interesting. I mean, that adds a layer to Mueller and Messner being like, they really didn't know what they were doing. They just knew that they'd been selling drugs and that Johan knew about it and was calling him out saying, if you don't do this for me, I'm going to rat you out. And so they did, but they weren't really, I mean, they were henchmen of Johan, but it wasn't as premeditated as I thought it was. So that's kind of interesting that they decided to kill him, but it wasn't like, they weren't like goons that had been in business with Johan for years and were like sleeper agents. No, they just were hired randomly to be like, I got dirt on you, do what I want, or I'll rat you out. That's kind of fascinating. And so then he thinks about all that's going on, and then he sees in the window. At first I thought it was the couple that used to live in the house and what he's imagining, but then you realize it's Nina's parents. It's like, oh, okay. It was them all along. And there was like some chilling imagery, like with his face when he sees them, like he's genuinely scared. And that's kind of the humanity of Mueller throughout this episode. Because when they tried to take Tenma that night, both Messner and Mueller were acting so strange. And now when you learn the circumstances of what was going on, it's like, okay, their actions make a lot more sense. But the crazy thing is, they really frame Mueller in this human light throughout this episode. They frame him as him being like, look, I I was just doing a job. I was trying to clear my name. I shouldn't have done it, and it's caused him guilt, right? And just the humanity of Mueller comes out in this episode, and it makes you really realize that, yeah, these are just people who made bad decisions, but everyone's capable of making a bad decision, right? He's not like Jurgens in the prison that seemed to find like arousal from killing people. No, this is not like that at all. It's a totally different scenario where Mueller was just doing, he shouldn't have killed him, right? And Nina is obviously affected, but he's not like Jurgens where he was getting pleasure from it. It was strictly a move to clear his name. It wasn't the right move to make, but it wasn't like he was intentionally trying to be malicious. And he talks to the detective that they'd got their hands dirty selling confiscated drugs. And the guy called them saying he wanted, if they wanted him to keep quiet, they had to kill the Fortners in Heidelberg. And then they did that and they killed Mueller too. And he's like, I quit the force. So he quit the force after that, obviously. And he was picked up by a syndicate. Now this is where it gets kind of weird, because he says he was picked up by the syndicate right after he quit the force and was placed in this good position. And the money he made was easily laundered. And then he met his wife and washed his hands of the business. And he's like, why was I able to leave so easily? Yeah, why was he able to take the money and run so quickly? And the main thing is, it was because Roberto and them were setting him up to lure Nina and them in. The question is, if Nina hadn't shown up, would they have killed Mueller then? What would they have done? It's interesting. So it seems like the syndicate almost let him go easily so that he could be bait for either Tinma or Nina. Because yeah, obviously Messner was able to be tracked down by Tinma, and I'm sure Johan found that out because he ends up dead a few months later. So if they were able to find Messner, then they probably were suspecting that either Tinma or Nina would run into Mueller. And so they set him up where he was in this really conspicuous mansion, easy to find, easy to locate, and then see if he actually was going to betray them or not. Fascinating. It's such a weird, crazy episode. And the thing about Mueller is that he set up this life, but with his wife Barbara, he thinks that their kid Fritz, he's like, that kid's never called me his dad, so it's not like a complete, perfect, happy holiday as the episode title suggests. But then the moment the kid turns around and says, Dad, I'll talk to you later, then it hits Mueller that this is something he's wanted, and he finally has it, and it's all about to blow up in his face. God. It's just, anytime in this series we have a wide shot and no sound, it's like it's instantly ominous, right? The shot of him walking up the staircase and the sound dies, and it's this big, quiet, empty, open shot. I'm like, get out of there. That is so freaky. And it leads to him finding the body of the detective. He was going to meet the detective to get information about Tinma, and the detective's dead. And then Nina shows up. Nina shows up looking like a Girl Scout, ready to sell them cookies. And she says Roberto killed him. And he says, you've come to take revenge upon me. And she's like, I just want this briefcase with the info. You have no one to trust. So you're on your own. I like that. I like that she does not wait around. Nina is so badass. I love her character. I'm like, Nina has really grown on me, where she's just like, no, she's like Tinma. She's just getting stuff done. And I'm like, girl, good on ya. And some of the animation in this episode, like the moment he like goes, he leans in, like the animation is so like fluid and just, it's just so well done. It's so good. It's like adds to the horror elements. And then like the camera panning where it pans up from the staircase as Roberto's coming and everything. It is so damn good. We get a picture of Mueller in that shot. It's so good. I was floored by how tense this episode was. It was just absolutely stunning. And so yeah, and Roberto, the moment they left at the beginning of the episode and the bodyguard was like, have fun, and he's just smiling there on the veranda. No, anytime this series like lingers on a character, I'm like, should I be afraid of them? Probably. Probably should, right? But damn. And then Nina, I love that she like was in the car waiting on him, and she's like, are you gonna go? Let's go. And they peace out of there. Nina is like not playing around though. I love it. And she gets him to confess. But the moment where he's like, if I didn't kill your parents, they would find out that I was selling drugs. That confession, there's no wonder she's so pissed off about it, because it's like, my parents, who did nothing wrong, were completely innocent, had to die because of your mistake. You sold drugs. That's not my problem. That wasn't worth killing my parents. And the way the camera lingers on her, as she, like, you can just see the anger building up in her. It's like when she's like, you didn't have a choice. You did have a choice. That look on her face where she just like kind of opens up like, oh, you think you didn't have a choice? That's not how this works. Oh God, that anger she has is so terrifying. I thought she was going to shoot him in the car. I thought she was going to shoot his leg or something. Where she tells him to stop the car, and she gets him on the ledge out by the ocean. And she says, my parents were wonderful. And I had a mother and father who loved me with all of their hearts, even though they knew I wasn't their daughter. Oh, the look on her face, like how angry she is. Oh. And then at that moment, Mesner, she's like, despite all that, they were killed by scum like you. But that's the thing. He sits there like crying out for his wife and kid. And she stops. Because she sees that, like, despite all, she sees, just like how Tim saw with the one terrorist, that he's human. That he wanted to live to see them again. It wasn't for a selfish desire. It was because he wanted to live for them. I mean, I guess it is selfish in a way, but it's not like self-serving. He wanted to live for someone else. And that's what makes her stop. And she's like, are you freaking kidding me? You're going to make me have a conscience? Because she sees them together. And then she's like, what's wrong with you? She's like, why are you doing this? She's like, you're supposed to be... we're supposed to expect Mesner and Mueller to be these diabolical people because they killed the two Fortners. But then when you meet them, you realize, no, they are just tragically flawed people. Mesner had a drug addiction problem, was probably taking the drugs they were supposed to be selling, and had a messed up, pathetic existence. And then you have Mueller, who just wanted to clear his name after doing something bad, and then made a bad choice, did something horrible, and then was trying to wipe himself clean of it, and he couldn't escape his past. And then he talks to Nina about how the boy called him dad for the first time. And he said, I found something I don't want to lose. And then, so here's the weird thing. He said, every day I was ordered there every day after I joined the organization, and I needed to look like a salary man. I guess before he showed up for his orders. He's like, I had to look very clean cut. And he's like, every day a mother and her child would pass by. And that was my only contact with everyday life. And he would say good morning to them. And then they'd go on their way. And that relationship developed from there. And so Nina's like, fine, what'd you hire the detective for? And I thought for a second maybe he would try to get the gun from her. But at this point, he's broken and he's realized he's not going to do anything against her. Because Mueller's not a terrible person, right? So he was trying to find out information about Mesner and Tinma. And he found out that Mesner was dead. And then they find out that Roberto... So the thing about it is, he's like, I got a call from the detective last night that something was unusual. And so he says, yes, Mesner was a heavy junkie who was in no condition to get involved with some syndicate. So he should have been acting alone, right? The killer wasn't from the Frankfurt syndicate, like they had thought. He was from Dusseldorf. And so he said he'd give him the details. And then it was Roberto. So yeah, what a chilling thing when he calls him. When that damn car phone rang, I forgot that we were in the 90s. I forgot we were in the car with a phone in it. I was like, where is this phone ringing coming from? The damn car phone. And him like saying, oh, well, we're having a nice holiday here. It's just me and your wife and kids. That's the creepiest thing, because he knows that Roberto's a killer. And he could kill his wife and kid if he doesn't come back and do something. Oh my God, it's so tense. Like, this whole episode was absolutely terrifying. And he's like, can you lend me your gun? I like that she still has both guns. She had the gun that was like strapped to her thigh back at Baby's place at the candy bar, and then she has the other gun, and she's like, you can only use it close range, and it only has 4 bullets. Which he uses them all to kill the guys who were trying to kill her. And he's like, I was a police officer. And he's like, you want me to be careful so I can go confess to the police? And she's like, yeah, you better not die. So then at the end, I'm like, is he going to be able to confess? Or is she just taking it back to his wife and kid so he can die with them? Damn. We won't know until we watch episode 22. Darn it. And so she goes to the house next door, but clearly they're waiting on her, right? And that's when the wife tells them there's some people upstairs and that they're going fishing. Ugh. But yeah, how'd they already get her if there's 4 guys? I guess there's only 3 guys there, so 1 guy was waiting in the house to take Nina. Damn it. And they say they're treating her with courtesy until Johan gets here. And I love when Messner's like, what is the deal with Johan? I'm like, And they're like, we just want you to live happily with the Madame and Fritz. They basically blackmail him. So they're like, we're going to take Nina. This whole thing was to lure Nina and or Tenma here. So we're going to just take her now. And you're going to keep in this house because you're basically being used by the boss. Johan is using you to lure in Tenma and Nina because eventually they're going to research and figure you out. He's like, so you just keep pretending to be the dad and play house here and we'll go do our thing and nobody's going to say anything. So they let him out of the syndicate rather easily so that he could serve as bait for them. Roberto's a very creepy character. A very creepy character. And I don't know how to entirely feel about him. But man, I don't know how to feel about him. But they take Nina and as he's out like on the backyard, back porch with the pool, he laughs being like, oh, I don't see the ghosts anymore. Isn't that funny? But in reality, he feels guiltier than ever because not only has he killed her parents, he's let Nina get taken and she's probably going to get killed too. So I didn't know what was going to happen in this scene in the warehouse they take her to. I'm glad that Mueller decided to go rescue her. I'm glad he did. I'm glad that he went from chuckling in the backyard to realizing that he done goofed and he needs to go help her. Right? But they take her to this warehouse and they tell her she looks like Johan, like they've seen him. I wonder if any of these people have even seen Johan. Have they? Or are they just making it up? And she's like, when can I see him? And he's like, I came peacefully because you said you'd let me meet Johan. And I'm like, how do y'all know? And they say he's in Munich. Why is he in Munich? And why is that weird? And he keeps making the comment about her eyes, which is creepy. So I guess he tells her where Johan is because he doesn't think she's going to live, right? He thinks they're just going to kill her. But I'm like, Johan doesn't want you to kill Nina, or at least the baby made it seem like he didn't. So, what? He leaves his subordinates with her. The 4 of them, which there's only 4 bullets, so go figure. And he says, we'll take care of the rest. And he says, Dr. Tenma. Oh my God. So, what was that line about Dr. Tenma? Why did he ask the question? Why did he ask Dr. Tenma and make a question out of it? That's so weird. And the look on her face when they're about to shoot her is horrifying. But I'm trying to figure out what that was. He says he wants to see you too. And they say he's living happily in Munich. And he says she has nice eyes. But then he says such a shame. What the hell? And she gets backed up against the wall. And he says, take care of the rest. But then as he's leaving and they're pointing the gun at her, he says, Dr. Tenma. And he has the question mark. Why did he ask that question? Why? Damn it. And then he takes off as the gun fires and it's Mueller. And Mueller ends up shooting. Like, he's got good aim. He shoots all of them like in one shot. Takes them all down. Ugh. And then go, yeah, one hit KO for all of them. Well, except the one guy he shot in the stomach, not the chest. And then he goes to her. And the fact, I love the light shining down on them. Like throughout it, I love that shot of the light shining down on Mueller. Like he came to her rescue. He was like an angel saving her. It's such good symbolism there. She's like, why did you come? He's like, I told you, I used to be a police officer. He's like, I used to work for the law. It's not left my system yet, right? I've made a misstep, but that doesn't mean I'm cold and heartless. And that moment, Mueller does look really nice. Like he made a bad mistake and he's paying for it. But in the end, he comes back and saves her because that's the right thing to do. And then God, the moment that guy points the gun at them, oh my God, it's like, what the hell? And she sees, and she points her gun at him. Oh. And I'm like, she had to have killed him. She had to have shot him. But we don't see it. Oh. And you can see in the bottom of the screen the blood on his shirt, but it's not immediately apparent. And he's just like, the way that his face is scrunched and everything looks like he's dying. Oh my God. And she says that she's going to get him back to his wife and kid. You'll be at your house. He's like, I promised Fritz I'd take him fishing tomorrow. And just that look on her face, like, damn it, he's not going to make it. Because she's not a doctor. He's like, I hope it's going to be sunny. God. And yeah, he got shot. That she's so beautiful in that shot of the sun hitting her. Oh my God. And yeah, the sunlight on his face. And it's so quiet. And she says it'll definitely be sunny. So the question is, did she shoot him or did she not? Did she shoot him or did she not shoot him? That's the question. I thought I heard 2 shots go off like she did, but I mean, he was technically maybe already, or maybe she didn't and he fired his gun and then died. But just how quiet it is as he's dying, like it's not frantic or anything. I mean, she's driving as fast as she probably can to get him back home, but oh my God, y'all. Because she can't take him to the police. This man's dying of a gunshot wound. This episode was insane. And I feel like there's so much to be said because Roberto's maybe looking for Tenma next, trying to lure him next. I don't know what Roberto's game is and how he's actually involved with Johan, if he even is, but it's insanity. I feel like I need to watch episode 22 to understand what's going to happen next, but oh my God, I just don't. What do we do? What do we do? So, holy shit. This episode was like, I feel all over the place in this discussion because there's just so much that, like, what is Nina doing next? What is she going to do with Mueller? What has she been doing leading up to this point? Did she go there looking for him after she got a lead on the man that killed her parents, after she let Rosso? Like, where's Tenma and Dieter? Like, the timeline, is Johan actually in Munich? Is he not? What's Roberto's connection to all this? Oh my gosh. This episode was beautifully heartbreaking because it makes you realize Mueller was not as diabolical as he seemed in that one episode. But then that's kind of the theme of the show, is that these characters come across one way, and then when you actually get to see their situation, you find out more about them, and the situation seems to be something totally different. So, oh my God. I'm going to be very curious to hear your comments about this episode because this episode was really, really good. But I feel like I need to watch episode 22 to see if we're going to continue on with Nina's story and Mueller's, or if this was like a one-shot thing. What is Nina doing next? Is she going to take him home and drop him off at the doorstep? Is she going to take him to the police station, to the hospital? What's happening? Is he going to die before he gets there? There's so many questions with this episode. And I feel like I need to watch the next one to find out. But I also feel like the next episode, we're going to go back to Tenma and completely 180 from this. So So I'm going to probably watch episode 22 very soon when I'm back from my trip. And I'm going to think about this episode a little more, maybe watch it one more time and see if there's anything else I want to talk about in the discussion for episode 22. But I'm curious to know your thoughts down below. I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Take care. And yeah, I'll be back very soon with episode 22 of Monster. Bye.